So I initially wasn't going to make this video because I didn't want you guys to think I was crazy, but you all know that the Pentagon recently declassified a new a new batch of UFO footage, or what they're describing as unidentified aerial phenomenon. And I want to show you the video of that, and then we're going to listen real quick to one of the pilots who was, there during the time, describing what he thinks it is. And then I'm going to tell you guys my weird UFO story, the weird thing that I saw that I cannot explain. Again, I have no idea what it was. I'm going to tell you guys that story. Then I'm going to give you guys my sort of heterodox interpretation of what I think this stuff is, because I don't know that extraterrestrial is actually the best explanation for it, but I think that some of them are not just like weird blimps and stuff like that. So, but anyway, here is the footage of the UFO encounter.
Echo 6-1 Tango Project.
Oh, go ahead! Woohoo!
Roger. There's troubleshooting.
Are you box moving target?
602.
No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that, man. Look at it fly. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. Oh my gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating.
It's in the water, and a white 40-foot long tic-tac shaped object just hovering above the water, going forward, back, left, right. There's no rotor wash, there's no wings, nothing. And as I get within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerates to the south in about 2 seconds and disappears. This was extremely abrupt, like a ping pong ball bouncing off a wall. The ability to hover over the water and then start a vertical climb from basically zero up towards about 12,000 feet and then accelerate in less than 2 seconds and disappear is something I had never seen in my life. I believe, as do the other folks that were on the flight, that when we visually saw it, that it was something not from this world.
So you just saw there that pilot saying that he thinks these are aliens. There's definitely something super, super weird going on out there. But I said I was going to tell you guys my weird UFO story. So this was a few years back. I was maybe a sophomore or a junior in high school. And I was driving with my friend Scott, who actually he was on this channel about a week ago. I had like sort of a conversation with him about the future of the left. I was driving a golf cart with him, and we were sort of turning around a corner. And then we got onto this kind of like parking lot area. And suddenly there was these super, super bright lights coming, like maybe 5 or 6 different lights, and they were dancing around. They were like stars kind of, but much, much brighter than stars. You could tell that they weren't stars. And they were dancing around and forming shapes. So it was some kind of intelligence. It was not random. They were like forming a triangle and then a circle and then a square. But the crazy thing about it is they would move one direction and then abruptly turn around. They didn't like slow down really before they turned around. It was like, and then they would, sort of redirect themselves and then form like, different patterns, and they'd rearrange themselves. And they were moving like really fast, like especially for how far away you could tell that they were, because you could tell that they were really, really far away, but they were still super bright, so you could see them completely uninterrupted. And it was just weird. I mean, just the weirdest thing that I think I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like that before then. I've never seen anything like that since, although I was like just sort of randomly browsing around on YouTube maybe 2 years, 3 years after this incident, and there was some guy with, there wasn't a ton of people who saw this clip, but some guy he was like recording from a cruise ship, and it was the exact same phenomenon that I had seen. And this guy also in the video was like, "Oh my gosh, bro, it's aliens, holy hell," And so like this is something that other people have seen. I haven't been able to recover that video since. I mean, it was just crazy to think though that like other people had seen the same kind of thing that I had seen. So that leads me to think that maybe this is some kind of phenomenon. I don't know. But it was super weird. I've never seen anything like it. They were just, again, super bright lights, and they were just moving at incredible speeds, like seeming to violate kind of the laws of physics a little bit, and they were forming shapes. And you might think like, oh, well, these are probably just drones. But guys, first of all, too far away and too fast and too bright. Like drone lights aren't like that particularly. And also, this was, again, a couple years back. Like this was before like recreational drones were like really a thing. So And they were definitely not jets because they were able to move, like in straight lines and immediately turn around. So I don't like really know. I mean, maybe they were drones. Maybe I have no idea what they were. Like when I say they were UFOs, they were literally unidentified flying objects. I have no idea what these things were. But I think, I said I was going to give a hypothesis for what I think that some of these things are, because I don't think that extraterrestrial life is actually the most reasonable hypothesis, right? Like, so the most reasonable hypothesis, is the hypothesis that makes the fewest assumptions, right? The more assumptions that you have in a hypothesis to explain a particular set of data, the less likely it's to be true because, each assumption brings with it sort of its own risk, right? That's generally how you think about this stuff. And when you compare two hypotheses here, there's the hypothesis of, okay, there's time travelers, that's my theory, and there's the hypothesis of its extraterrestrial life. I think the time traveler hypothesis is more reasonable. Now, obviously, you could argue that the hypothesis that, oh, they're just random blimps, they're just, random stuff going around also explains the data, and maybe it does, but I mean, there's definitely some weird videos out there where, like, it just seems to violate the laws of physics. So let's have a little fun with this video, all right? So I think, honestly, the more reasonable hypothesis is the time traveler's hypothesis, like I was saying. And the reason for that is, think about it this way, guys. What's the one civilization that we know of that exists right now, that we know for certain of? It's the human civilization, first of all. Second of all, we know that the civilization has existed in the past, and we can reasonably think that it's going to exist in the future. Now, some people dispute this. They say the end of the world is coming. There's going to be nuclear war. There's going to be climate change, and certainly those are those are incredibly huge, massive, difficult obstacles that we're going to have to overcome. But what's more likely, right? That there is some civilization out there that we have zero evidence for right now, or that we managed to overcome global warming, or push it off or something like that, or manage to overcome nuclear war and then develop time travel. Now, do we know for certain that time travel is possible? No, right? In the literature of contemporary physics, it's disputed whether or not it's possible, right? Completely disputed. And then the second thing that we need to consider here, though, is we have literally zero reason to think that if there was an extraterrestrial civilization, that it would be interested in us. And there's two formulations of this argument. The first is sort of the ant next to the superhighway analogy. They say that, if you're just driving down a superhighway and there's an anthill, you don't care. Like, you're literally uninterested in an anthill. Perhaps our technology is so low, so primitive, so irrelevant to these aliens that they literally don't care. And also, by extension, us being ants are like, we don't have a clue that we're next to a superhighway, right? Like, we would not even know the things to look for in the first instance, right? So that's one formulation of the argument. Personally, I don't think that's the best formulation of the argument, because, like, you could make the case that, like, sure, yeah, no particular person driving in a car in the superhighway is uninterested in the anthill, and maybe no one is at all interested in that particular anthill, but there are people who study ants, right? Like, so the idea, I don't know, I don't think that it's the perfect sort of analogy there, but I think that the stronger formulation of the argument, I do think, by the way, that argument is suggestive, but I think that the stronger formulation of the argument is just to say that, look, if there is extraterrestrial intelligence, we have no idea what that intelligence is going to look like. It could be completely different from human intelligence, right? Like, there are certain patterns which humans are interested in and certain patterns which humans are not interested in, right? Perhaps aliens just have a different sort of map when it comes to sort of curiosity, when it comes to the things that they're interested in, that they literally just wouldn't care about another kind of civilization. And the thing that you need to think about here is that humans, like, we're only interested in a certain set of patterns, and humans, we know, are interested in previous iterations of human society, right? Like, we have historians now who love researching, Roman times, researching Greek history, and, we all take history class. It's required because humans think that this is valuable information, right? We think that this is valuable. It is valuable for us to know, for us to understand how previous humans lived. So, we have very good reason to think that humans in 500 or 1,000 years, whatever they are, however long when time travel is invented, would be interested in using time travel to research and study previous human civilizations, right? But we have zero reason whatsoever, remind you, zero reason whatsoever to think that aliens would be interested in humans on Earth, right? Like, they could be, maybe they are, right? Like, maybe their intelligence is like our intelligence, but like, we have no reason to think that. Like, their intelligence could be just completely different, and they could be just curious about different things than humans are interested in, right? But we know for a fact that humans are interested in, you know, human civilization. So, like, what's more plausible? Time travel gets invented in 300 years, and then we use it to research previous formulations, or that there's some civilization that we have no evidence for whatsoever who is just sending around random drones to study us. You know, I don't know, right? Like, you would think that if they were going to spend all those resources or whatever to travel here, to have these ships on, you know, flying around to, you know, like they would mine our resources or something like that. That's, you know, maybe we don't have any evidence for that either, right? But my point is this, like, why would they be interested in studying us? We have zero reason to think that that's the case, but we do have reason to think that humans, if we invented time travel, would use it to study previous iterations of human society. So I actually think that the time traveler hypothesis is a more reasonable explanation of the data than is the extraterrestrial the extraterrestrial hypothesis. Could be wrong, like maybe these are aliens. And also, actually, there's a bit of sort of like there's a bit of a twist here, which is that if humans ever became like an interplanetary kind of species, right, like what would end up happening is there'd be multiple trees of sort of evolution, and, you know, possibly with more radiation out in space, evolution would happen faster. So who knows, they could be time travelers who are also extraterrestrials, but like branched from humans. Anyway, we're going into a clear tangent here. I just wanted to make that sort of fun video, you know, a bit of a break from typical politics stuff. Hope you guys aren't too upset about it. So tell me what you guys think. Are they aliens? Are they time travelers? Or are they just blimps? Tell me what you guys think. But if you like the video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thanks.